Afternoon, evening, Galgarators. Welcome to Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. I'm Al Reynolds, and I'm your judge. And today, we're going to dive into legal battles that have captured headlines and divided public opinion concerning celebrities, politicians, and as well as social issues. Now, I'm joined by esteemed legal beagles to this afternoon who we haven't seen in a while. The one, the only civil attorney, Simone Redwine. Simone Redwine, welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hey, y'all. How's it going? Good to be back.
All is well. How was your weekend?
It was excellent. It was Afro Tech here in Houston where I'm from. So I was able to shop around for a rich husband. Check back in 90 days. I'll let you know how it went.
Any new developments?
There's a lot of new development. I'm running a background check on them, so I got to wait for those results to come on back. But yes.
All right. And also joining her is civil attorney, the one, the only fiery, Shyne Turner. Shyne Turner, welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hi, Your Honor. Hey, Simone, I've missed you. We're going to have fun tonight.
You too, honey.
All right. Any updates on your end?
Give me your cast-offs from the rich men from Houston, just so I can start building.
Will do.
So wait a minute, Shyne, it was your daughter's birthday this weekend?
Oh, no, my daughter's birthday was in September, but the kids have been doing the most. So, they went to the White House, and last weekend we went to a Cleveland Cavaliers game, and the kids were able to go on the court, and my daughter sunk a shot because she's really lucky. Unfortunately.
Oh, that's really cool. All right, everybody. Don't forget to throw those fire emojis in the chat for Shyne Turner. And don't forget the red wine emoji for Simone Redwine. And throw in that fax emoji for me here at the judge, Al Reynolds. All right, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, don't forget to hit the share button. Turn on your notifications, as I'm understanding from your messages and comments, you're finally getting our notifications. And jump down in these comments, because these comments, we love them coming so we can understand what it is that you're liking and what you're not liking. And remember, court is now in session. All right, now each case we will be read, followed by a lawyer's insight, and we'll take your questions. Who are you? You are our jurors, and as well as our viewers. So get ready to weigh in, okay? And at the end, we'll deliver our verdict on whether these celebrities are guilty or innocent in the court of celebrity public opinion. All right, first up. Rapper NBA Youngboy, legally known as Kentrell Golden, pleaded guilty to charges related to prescription drug fraud scheme in Utah. He was arrested in April and is currently awaiting sentence. Now, we have an inside scoop from our attorney, Simone Redwine. Simone Redwine, bring us up to date with this particular case. And what does this mean for NBA Youngboy?
Yeah, so it seems like Mr. Kentrell just loves going to jail. He can't just seem to keep his nose clean. Now, he was initially charged with some offenses down in Louisiana, and as a result, he went up to Utah because he had told the court that he was going to go to Utah and he was going to keep his nose clean, literally. Instead, he was stuffing drugs up in there. Specifically, on Monday, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of third-degree felony identity fraud, 2 counts of third-degree felony forgery, and 6 counts of misdemeanor unlawful pharmacy conduct. He entered a no contest plea on the remaining charges. And so basically the gist of it is his claim was he's super addicted to drugs. He was born in Utah. There was nothing to do. So he did drugs. And the courts, of course, are like, this is ridiculous. So what he is dealing with, interestingly, is I found it interesting the amount of time that he's probably facing. So he's likely going to get, it says he's likely going to get 27 months in the feds. It says, however, he's going to get credit for time served. He's already been sitting there for a while. And therefore, he should actually be in a halfway house by the spring. And that's because under the feds, the way they work it, you can serve your last 12 months of your sentence in a halfway house with home confinement.
Well, we know how he did with halfway house the last time. Remember, that's how he ended up in Utah, because they said he needed to get completely away from everybody, right? He was supposed to be renting this $5 million house. He was going to get his life together. He couldn't stay in a normal halfway house. But that's beside that. This is what I want.
No, that wasn't a halfway house. That was home confinement.
See, that was home
house. Think of a halfway house as a grown-up group home. Okay, it's a bunch of criminals all in one apartment complex doing criminal things to and with one another. So it's all people who are on parole, so they have to check in, they have rules, they have curfews, etc. So it's not nearly as lush. Yeah.
Got it. Well, let me ask you this question. How did he go? I want to know how this works. Remember when he first was charged, he was charged with 46 particular crimes, right? I think it was a total of 46. How did he, under a plea deal, he was able to reduce that to 10? How does a plea deal work, and what exactly, when do they use a plea deal? What exactly is a plea deal, and how often is a plea deal used?
It's used all the time. Actually, it's like 96% of the time in federal cases, there's a plea deal. They only go to trial in like 4% because with a plea deal, you have certainty. So what happens is the feds say, hey, you cooperate with us. Generally, if you give us information on other people that were part of your little drug conspiracy ring, then we will recommend to the judge that you get sentenced between this many months and this many months. As a result, it takes away the risk of you getting the book thrown at you. Plus, judges generally are deferential to that. And here, his plea deal allows him to plead no contest. So that's helpful because so when you plead no contest, it doesn't mean you're innocent. It doesn't mean you're guilty. It means that basically you feel like there's enough evidence that you could be found guilty, but it cannot be used against you in a civil trial. So if someone who took his drugs and let's say they had an overdose, they got really sick and hospitalized, they may try to sue him since he's a millionaire. They can't simply say, oh, court, look at his guilty plea. He did it. Run me my millions. They can't do that.
Got it. Now, with the plea deal, can he be charged later down the road for something? Can they bring it back, or is he?
No, it's it. And you asked, how did he go from 46 to basically the 6 that he was charged with? Because usually what happens is the 46 different times. So a lot of this was him faking prescriptions for different opioid drugs and stuff. So a lot of this, they just grouped together the different times. So he might have done this 46 different times. They grouped it together and were like, hey, all the forgery is, every time you faked a doctor's signature or whatever. So they just group it.
Got it. Shaitan, anything you want to share on this case?
What's up with this photo? Like he looks demonic. It looks like some like Halloween kind of thing. Like, is this his regular look? I wasn't familiar with the NBA Youngboy until we started looking at this case, but there's a whole lot of confusion here. I mean, if anybody doubted his drug use, they just have to see this photo and say, what is up with this boy?
I thought it was his Halloween costume. But apparently his jail photo is pretty terrible too. He's got a mustache and a smirk, according to some of our friends in the comments. A mustache and a smirk. I can see that. Remember, he is the baby daddy to Floyd Mayweather's daughter. So
this is the one.
This is him. Yeah, and the daughter ended up getting a charge because she stabbed his other baby mama.
Right.
Because he loves chaos.
Maybe they all are doing too many drugs.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, I thought Floyd Mayweather's.
Don't get high in your own supply. Was that Biggie?
That's probably something he needs to write about. Now, is this the same boyfriend that she had the physical altercation with, or is that a different story?
I'm not sure. Yeah, poor baby. I'm not sure.
Any other algorithms want to lean in on that? I thought maybe they got into an argument or a fight somewhere. I think I remember reading that.
Floyd's her daddy. I'm sure she could fight.
I know, right?
No, she can't. She's a little bit cute. Little bit. She can't. That's why she picked up that
can't fight, but she can stab.
That's why she stabbed that lady. If you could fight, you go toe to toe with your fist. She didn't. She sat up there. She stabbed that lady. I'm shocked she didn't get more time, but it makes me think that there was probably a confidential 6-figure, 8-figure settlement.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You could stab me if you give me $1 million. I'll do a lot for $1 million with my panties on.
What in the world? What did she? what? Not with your panties on. What?
There's fewer things I do with them off, but
so what did she ended up? Did they have their child yet?
Yeah, they had the child.
Okay, got it. All right, everybody, here we go. The night has been.
Young Bill Cosby, like.
He
Bill
looked like
Cosby
he
didn't have
guilty.
tattoos.
He looked guilty. He did
No, he
everything
looks like
they say he
Richard
did.
Pryor. That's who looks like Richard Pryor. Doesn't he? Look
A,
at the face.
a young Richard Pryor. I don't know. Are you on drugs tonight, counselor? All right.
Probably.
All right, guys. Carmelo Ball, welcome to Celebrity Court. Charlotte Hornets guard Lamelo Ball was fined $100,000 by the NBA for using an anti-gay term during a live stream game session. The incident has sparked discussion about the language and behavior among professional athletes. Attorney Shatan, tell me what's going on with Lamelo Ball.
Well, we've talked about this before, the morality clauses and kind of expectations of behavior that they have in professional sports. And so he was in an interview. He made a comment that got him into a little bit of hot water, and he had to pay $100,000 because of it. I actually felt sorry for him, not because I have any sympathy in my heart for people who are discriminatory, but the statement that he made is fairly commonly used, and I don't know that it was. Well, see, there you go, Simone. Yeah, I don't know if it's intuitive. It is now. Like now, everybody knows if you say it, it could cost you $100,000. But I don't know that it was well known when he made it that was considered to be anti-gay. And so,
all right, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Hold your thought. Let's take a look.
The last play when he took the shot, yeah, we loaded up. No, that's what we wanted. Put the hand up and then just live with the.
Loaded up? What's gay about loading up? What are you loading up? Your bottom hole?
Girl.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
What are you putting in there, Luke?
That we don't know about. So apparently that expression about loading up must have implications that are going over all of our heads, because that statement that he said after it's
was a disclaimer.
Right. Like it's when guys say things like, oh, look at Al Reynolds. He's so fine. Right.
Oh, I like that
expression. I never heard it used after something like loaded up. So I think that maybe he's just not very facile in how the English language works. And maybe he doesn't know when he's supposed to use that.
He looks slow. Like I want to see his IEP.
Whatever happened to his brother? You know, they have been flying underneath the radar. So we're just glad. Remember, he used to run over the fans when he came out of the locker room and stuff. He's been trying to do the best he can. He's been laying low lately because he's been in a lot of legal trouble as of late. But I don't understand, and this is just a serious conversation that I want to have here. I do understand the NBA and their morality clauses and behavior and comments that are derogatory, and they can't, they have to be very aware and all of that. But seriously, like I just don't understand. I don't understand the no homo thing. Like,
there are,
you know what?
So
who complained? Who complained?
I don't know. I guess the homosexuals, the gays, come to the front, gays. Are you angry?
Well, I want to know. I seriously want to know who complained.
Well, no, but listen, you can step on toes and not realize it. So I personally stepped on toes of a community in this La Mama chat group. And I'm not going to say it on here because people might come after me. But anyway, and it was similar to kind of him. There was this case that was in the news. I thought we're all lawyers in this chat group. I'm going to share the case. I shared the case in the group. And then I said, it's complicated as talking about the issue. I didn't say anything else. And, Attorney Redwine, you would think that lawyers like to debate cases. This was an actual legal case that had been filed, right? They dragged me. Like 10,000 people. Well, not everybody had this issue, but like 5,000 people came out.
You had 5,000 people in your chat?
Yes, I had to fight them for weeks, and the site ended up going down. And it was an article about trans athletes in sports. And all I said was it was complicated, and that alone caused all this outrage. So I'm not sure who complained to the NBA, but I believe they did. And the NBA probably felt compelled that they had to do something to him because of community.
Yeah, close but not quite. So there have been other players who have been fined for this exact same conduct. There was a player who was fined $1,000. There was one last year who was fined $25,000 for saying the same thing. So it's just something that now when they hear it, you get in trouble for it. And
So no matter what the context, if you say no homo,
let me give an analogy.
Okay.
Yeah. So Timeless Beauty in the chat, she said, I'm in my 40s. I've never heard of the term. I think the best analogy would be for those who watched The Office back in the day.
I did.
Michael would say, that's what she said. And, it's a term that
Right.
you use whenever it's something that could be played on as something sexual, right? No homo applies to anything that could be seen as gay. But the difference is we don't want to create homophobia. So the NBA stated the issue with this term is that it encourages homophobia. And that's why he was punished. Now, next time, I think he should just say no Diddy. Say no Diddy. Load him up, no
Oh
Diddy.
Lord.
Ain't nobody gonna be mad. No Diddy.
Then they got find a way. All right, Unique said, oh no, Abbott NYC, the MMM family said, yeah, I thought he called someone the F word.
No. But also, Judge, as the only man on the panel, what does load him up mean? Like, how can that be sexual? What you loading up?
I know, right? I was thinking the same thing. I don't know. Is that kind of gerbil play?
And I was gonna
Richard
say,
Gere allegedly was into gerbil play. There are fetishes out there where people are into gerbil play in your booty hole.
I did hear
it's
about
a thing.
that.
Apparently, they make it more exciting. But if I would say this, Attorney Redwine, if Your Honor don't know about it, it must be way under.
Order in the court. What do we say?
It's kind of nasty. What? Nasty.
Order, you mean if Simone doesn't know, that we all don't know?
I am a lady. I'm a lady.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you?
I'm a woman.
Speaking of loading them up, President-elect Donald Trump, welcome back to Celebrity Court. Donald Trump announced plans to declare a national emergency, everybody, and he's not backing down on this mass deportation. And he says that he's going to utilize the U.S. military to conduct the mass deportation of undocumented immigrants. This proposal has raised significant legal and ethical concern. Now, we've talked about this before, Simone. I don't think you were here, but one of the things we were thinking originally was that it was merely a way to put fear in people's minds of being deported. But he's not backing up. And we also talked about the projected amount of millions, if not close to $1 billion, it will cost to do this mass deportation. What is he actually saying now? Is he saying it doesn't matter the cost? We're going to get these undocumented immigrants out. Shatan Turner, what says you? And how is this? And we keep saying this over and over and over. How is this legal?
With all due respect to the president-elect, I just find it fascinating how he cannot be constrained by the law or the truth. So it also illustrates to me that the limits of his racism has no bounds. So the fact that he wants to make such an aggressive play with this should put everyone on notice that he just doesn't give a care about families and about people of certain backgrounds. So here's what we're talking about. He is talking about using the military to engage in this mass deportation. He's talking about building detainment centers that are the equivalent, quite frankly, of concentration camps. I think it was Attorney Carter who joked about that's not what we're doing here in a prior show. And that's apparently what we're doing here. So while we have all these issues about the price of eggs, and we have all these issues apparently about the economy and inflation, which are why people voted for him, what he is contemplating is using the federal military, which is a heightened expense, and then building detainment centers for people, not because they're prisoners, but or they're criminals per se, but because by virtue of them being in this country, they broke the immigration law. So let that sit in for a second. Like, no extra effort to round up all of the actual murderers, right?
Right.
But employed simply to get people who are otherwise law-abiding to leave this country because he doesn't think they should be here. So why did I say he's not constrained by the truth or by the law? Is because there's a law from the 1800s that could apply here. And I don't really know how to pronounce it. It's like the Posse Comitatus Act. And it bars using federal troops for participating in civilian law enforcement, except when expressly authorized by law. It is not clear that there's any basis in the law for him using the military in this way, but it's a wake-up call to all Black people that you need to be walking around with your papers, because if you don't have your papers, you might find yourself taken and be like 12 years a slave trying to get back to your family.
Right. Now, let me ask you this, Simone, because this is a part that pisses me off. Now, this is what we know, right? We know that executive orders can direct federal agencies like ICE, right, to prioritize resources for deportation, right? But they cannot override existing laws that are due process rights, right? So if you are being deported, don't you have to go through the due process requirements to get deported out? You have to go through deportation proceedings.
That is generally true.
You can't just drive through a community, say this community is heavily Hispanic, or this community is heavily Haitian, or this community is heavily African, and people that don't have their papers, you just haul them in a freaking truck and take them to the border and put them out.
It's like Nazis. It's like how the Nazis did with the Jews. They want to just drive through and say, you look Mexican, you look Mexican, you look Mexican. We're arresting you. Show us your papers. And we all know in America, nobody has any papers. But no, that's exactly what they want to do. And here's the thing. Ordinarily, I'd be like, oh, they can't do that. But here, they can do whatever they want, because the Republican Party is a lawless party. And the Republican Party now has the House, the Senate, and therefore they can do whatever they want, because we need votes to control him. The only reason in his first term in office that there was a bit of checks and balances is because he didn't have the House. And then the second half of his presidency, he didn't have the Senate. Okay. So we had a little control there. Now he has all of it. That's why I took out my extensions, and I started learning a trade. That way, when the slave auction happens, now I've decided I'm gonna do lashes. I don't know how you're gonna find me, Morris, like that.
You're gonna do lashes.
Slave trade. I'm gonna do lashes for everybody else when I get put up on the auction.
But wait a minute, let's ask this question now. We know about, like you said, it's a lawless party, but there still is what's called sanctuary policies, right? Which is depend on not only just states but local jurisdictions, and they don't have to cooperate with the federal immigration enforcement, right? That's what I understood.
Again, this is
unless they change the laws, but wouldn't they have to change the laws before they do the mass deportation?
Please stop referring to laws. When he is the president and the Republicans allow him to do whatever, Republicans don't believe in laws. They believe in doing whatever they want for their party. Let's remember, those were the same people that while President Obama was in office and he tried to nominate a Supreme Court justice after Scalia died, they literally refused to even take a vote, which prevented him from installing the person. They made that up. And then they said, oh, you shouldn't be able to do it when it's the end of your term. And then when the same thing happened during the end of Trump's term, they installed not one, but I think it was 2 justices. So I say that to say they make what they want and they do what they want. And the Democrats have not been standing up to it.
Okay, I got one more lean in that I'm just going to try my best, and maybe you could just shoot this one down too. Okay, all right. So you're saying state laws, federal laws were asked out. Sorry, anybody that don't have your papers, you should be concerned. All right, so let's go. We belong to NATO, Simone. All right, so it's bigger than our laws. We belong to NATO. So mass deportation is a humanitarian concern. That's separating families. That's a violation of human rights treaties. In the United States participates in NATO, so we have to follow the International Human Rights Treaty. Like, can't we get in trouble for that?
That's
well,
so
Your
cute.
Honor, who's gonna check us, boo? Who gonna check us, boo? Right? Like, that is really the question. It's the same thing that if you have these rules on a playground, right? Will the biggest bully on the playground comply, or will they just beat you down if none of the teachers are looking? That's what's happening here. right? America
Wow.
is the biggest bully, and we don't care about NATO. Trump has actually indicated he don't care, right? And so they need us more than we need them. And he's willing to bounce. He's also willing to give the finger to everybody else in the world who wants to try to tell him what to do. That's one of the reasons why I don't know if you guys saw this press conference when President Biden was asked how international leaders should respond now that Trump is in office again, and he just refused to answer the question, right? Because in truth, nobody knows. He's like, kiss the ring, right? Kiss the ring, or you get nothing. And one of the other interesting things is what you said on the show the other day, which was, is this turning into a dictatorship? So the use of executive orders for blanket reasons, that's exactly what that's doing. If they're supposed to be used infrequently and as necessary, but not as a matter of governing entirely. And that's what he would like to do, just issue executive orders all over the place. And as Attorney Redwine indicated, since he controls the House and the Senate now, like, again, who gonna check him?
Okay, I got it. Who gonna check you, boo? But listen, so do we just sit back and watch this man just make up policy, make up laws, run through constitutional, international, foreign rights, human rights? We're just going to watch him run through it all. Aren't we supposed to be a smart country with some of the best lawyers and some of the best checks and balances that exist? However, this man just gets to run amok. We really are going to have to put ourselves, our families, and our loved ones through this for the next 4 years.
We are very, very stupid. We are stupid people. That's the only explanation for his election. It's either this. There was either some form of corruption that came into play that allowed the votes to tally to assume that he's won, or we're idiots. I'm reading on both. I think it's a little bit of both.
What exactly did that election show us? We're looking at a 20 million voter spread. That's pretty significant.
You're saying she lost by 20 million?
She lost by 20 million popular votes now.
Don't believe
we want to say popular votes. Like, and I don't understand how that spread happened so fast and so easily.
Here's why I don't believe it. Because number one, the results came in so quickly that's not consistent with prior elections at all. But more importantly, how is it that you have states like North Carolina that were completely blue all the way down the ticket and red at president?
Right.
That doesn't happen without a form of interference. It doesn't happen. And that happened in North Carolina. It happened in other states as well. And here's the thing. At the end of the day, Elon Musk is very intelligent. He understands that with the American system, there is no way to correct a vote or even check or challenge votes after the election. Like, I can't go back and be like, hey, I know who I voted for, but let me see what the system said I voted for. There's no such thing, because it's also an anonymous thing. So at the end of the day, if they wanted to, for example, which I wouldn't be surprised about, delete votes from Democratic counties or make it to where they were not calculated, I believe that would be more likely than simply changing votes. I don't think votes were changed. That's too easy to determine. But we have to remember, I want you guys to remember what happened with the Gore v. Bush. What happened with Gore v. Bush is that it actually came up to 537 votes, and Gore won by 537. It went to the Supreme Court because what happened was this was back when there was like punches.
The punches.
It was punches. So people would hit the thing for Gore, it would punch Bush. When that was discovered, they actually pulled people's physical ballots, showed it to the Supreme Court, but because it was a Supreme Court that was conservative, they said, so we don't care. We're going to give it to Bush. Even though those they call it the hanging chalices or something like that. Hanging chads.
Well,
if you looked at them, they went for Gore,
right?
But the other.
Yeah, so that was one of my main concerns. And usually, I just want to put this out there. Usually, I'm nonpartisan, right? I usually try to always vote for the best candidate, right? Obviously, with our choices this presidential election, I voted for Kamala Harris. I have no problem saying who I voted for. What did not add up to me was when you looked at all of her rallies, it was sold out. You couldn't even get into some of her rallies.
That's right.
You looked at his rallies, you couldn't buy a ticket to get in that rally because it was so empty. It was horribly attended. She raised $1 billion in 30 days. She had every friend group, women, white women, black women, sorority, white men, gay men, gay women.
Find out until after his term is up.
All campaigning for her. However, the turnout at her rallies did not match the turnout at the ballots. And that just is strange to me because there was a sentiment that ran deep about protecting the Constitution. So where's the disconnect? I guess we could talk about this all night long, right?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's also curious that people would be more motivated to go to a rally than they were to vote. Like
to
it's
vote.
Actually a small percentage of people
it's the
who
opposite.
go to rallies to begin with, right? Unless they just wanted to see Megan Thee Stallion twerk a little bit. But I think this is interesting, right? Because this is all allegedly, because if anybody's watching this show, we are not accusing anybody of impropriety. But let's just
I'm accusing Republicans of impropriety, Elon Musk and Russia.
Okay, that's Attorney Red.
We know Simone's going to do it.
But let's assume this were fiction, right? We see the story play out on Scandal. Shonda Rhimes wrote this story, right, about election rigging. And here's the thing that I find interesting. If this were fiction, this would be the election to rig. Because why? Because the Democrats dragged him so much about his allegations of election interference the last time, and he has criminal charges because of it. And we said that his allegations of fraud, those allegations alone were a threat to democracy. So no Democrats worth their salt are going to accuse anybody of election interference or rigging now. So this was the election to rig if you were going to rig an election.
Hey, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. All right, everybody. I told you tonight was going to be an interesting night with our fiery attorney, Shaitan Turner. And you know, the one, the only Simone Redwine girl, is this legal? Be sure to hit that like button if you are enjoying tonight's show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're already subscribed. Share that subscribe button and invite some friends over here to learn the law while also getting messy with these celebrity stories. Also, don't forget to turn on your notifications. I think we figured out what was going on with our notifications, and we are hopefully, according to your comments in my chat, the notifications are now working. And don't forget to drop down in these comments because we're going to get to you to answer any of your questions as it relates to these stories. All right, next up, Shyne. Former rapper Moses Sean Burrow disclosed that P. Diddy Combs provided him with only $50,000 during his decade-long imprisonment for a 1999 nightclub shooting. Shyne expressed feelings of betrayal, highlighting the minimal support from Diddy despite their past association. Ooh. So $50,000 over 10 years. He gave him $10,000, $5,000 a year. Simone Redwine, what say you?
You sound like some foolishness. I know that it happened. And if I were Shyne, I would be mad and livid too. Shyne made the comment. He said, without me, Puffy would not be a billionaire. And that is the truth. Because without Shyne cooperating in the way that Diddy instructed him to, Diddy would be sitting in that jail cell either in addition to Shyne or instead of either one. And he wouldn't be a billionaire because you don't get to come out from that kind of sentence because Diddy's would have been attempted murder. Let's be very clear. And whether that would have been 10 years or 20, either way, Shyne's point was he had the audacity. Not only did he only give me 50,000, he said, but at the time that they linked up, which was in Paris, in, I think he said 2012, he was dating Cassie. And as he was dating Cassie and they linked up in Paris, interestingly, you heard he linked up in Paris, Shyne got deported. So he can't even come to America and just visit friends, visit family anymore. Now that he's a diplomat, he can. But they linked up in Paris and he watched Diddy take her shopping and buy her $500,000 worth of stuff.
Okay, wait a
Now,
minute. Hold on. Oh, counselor, you be bring the tea. Okay, wait a minute.
mhm.
So wait a minute. Shyne was dating Cassie before
No, no, no.
Diddy.
Diddy. No, Diddy was dating Cassie, brought
Okay.
Cassie to Paris. So when Shyne linked up with Diddy to basically talk about whatever at this point,
Okay. Oh,
he's
got
like,
it. All right.
"You gave me 50,000, but I just watched you give this chick 500,000, and she didn't do no time."
Got it. Okay, gotcha. My bad.
Yeah.
I was hearing.
Well,
I
he
was
So
was
going. I was
putting
going
in
deeper
work.
than juice on
He
that
was
one.
putting in work, Attorney Redwine.
I was like, that would have been good because I thought he was he was dating J Lo, but oh, this made it real good. Okay, so yeah, two things that I want to talk about on this that I thought was very interesting was for those who don't know, Shyne went back to Belize and became involved in the political process so that he knew that he could become like an ambassador or some type of political person, and that way he would be immune to be he got deported. That means he would be able to re-enter into the country that he was deported
right.
under his new role. So I thought that was very interesting. Tell me though, because one thing that I saw that he said on the Breakfast Club was that he did not see who Diddy shot.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
However, he said he did believe what the lady said who said that Diddy did shoot her.
Okay.
All right. Now, when Diddy approached him, this is the story that I get. This is where the part where I get very confused. So Diddy approached him and said, do what as it relates to this gun charge? Did he give him the gun and he had to take the gun? Because I thought they couldn't find the gun.
I'm not sure.
Or how did that happen? How did Shyne get the charge?
Because ultimately, Shyne either did not defend himself, like he did not put up a defense to say no, he did not do it, was my understanding. And that
Okay.
Shaitan, do you have
Okay.
clarification? I'm also going to look in the chat.
Well, no, the only thing I was going to add is I think that they worked something out in the limo, and that's how it got worked out. So remember, J-Lo brought the gun, right? And
That's
J-Lo handed the gun to Diddy. It was in her purse. And then it got confusing because the witness testimony was sketchy. Diddy denied it. And I do think, to Attorney Redwine's point, Shyne didn't advocate for himself. And it's not clear why. I think it may have been because no witnesses saw him do it either, but he confessed. And so things just worked out more quickly. Diddy was still facing another lawsuit related to it that he came out of it. I mean, Diddy up until now has been like Teflon, right? Like, and this was before his boy was in the White House. Now that his boy is in the White House, please, that man is going to have free reign, I think. I don't think that he's going to see, hard time. I think that, I shouldn't say this, but possibly if somebody was on a videotape at a freak off and they had the ability to pardon the person who could reveal that information, they might be inclined to do that.
Oh, and guess what? If he is in one of those freak off videos, the Secret Service is going to inform Biden prior to the transfer of power. And then they're going to inform Trump too. The reason why is that's considered compromise. And it could be used to blackmail him into doing something that is against the U.S. interest.
So let me ask you this. What if, both attorneys looking at this and looking how this is leading up to Diddy's trial, how defamatory is Shyne's confession now about this murder case? How inflammatory is this for the upcoming case? That's question number one. And question number two, what would you be doing to mitigate it if you were Diddy's attorneys right now?
So, Tanya, you want to go first?
Yeah, Shyne's testimony in this case would go to credibility. And so to the extent that Diddy is portrayed as not being credible, then Shyne could tell his story, right? Because nothing precludes him from saying, this is what happened in this case. He was dishonest and this is what happened. Diddy's lawyers will object all day long and say that Diddy wasn't convicted in that case. But the interesting thing, I think, right, Attorney Redwine, is that since Diddy never faced charges for that case could still be reopened. Right? Because there's no double jeopardy for Diddy, right? Shyne served the time, but if it came out that it wasn't true, right? Because there's still witnesses who actually know what happened in
20 years ago, there's not a statute of limitations that would be applicable.
Right.
Unless, yeah, because it wasn't murder is the one that has no statute of limitations. However, I don't know. It's my understanding that for RICO charges, which is absolutely what they're using for Diddy, that might be a way to bring it in. Basically, it could go to support examples of the obstruction of justice.
That's exactly what I was just getting ready to say. Doesn't this lead into even our next story that we're going to talk about? Doesn't it lead into the narrative that Diddy once again forced people to do things that they didn't want to do, unnecessarily obstruction of justice? Like I think that honestly, and I every time I see something about Diddy that comes out now, and believe me, algorithms, you should start thinking the same, be a little bit smarter. It's all intentional. It's all intentional. It's all a part of the defense team as well as the prosecutors deciding how they're going to build their case when it comes to that trial in May. Every single leak, every single thing is intentional at this point. And I feel like that, and definitely Shyne going on this new media tour, even though this is not new information at all. He's on this new media tour that he's talked about before on all the platforms that he's back on again, is an example of like witness tampering. Like witness.
And I want to clarify something for the jury. Your Honor, Black Gold 347 made an excellent point, which was Diddy was acquitted. That's right. In the Shyne case, Shyne was found guilty. Diddy was acquitted. And so Diddy could not be found guilty for actually shooting that woman. There's double jeopardy. But he could be found guilty of obstruction of justice. Because if the obstruction was tampering with witness, including telling Shyne, you take the fall, I'm going to give you some money. And now we know he actually gave him some money. We have additional proof of obstruction of justice. So on November 22nd, when Diddy is having his, I think it's the third bail hearing to try and get some bail, when he has that hearing, that could be an additional piece of proof that is brought out as an example of how Diddy obstructs justice.
Right. And then I think also the reason why Shyne is also upset and mentioning the $50,000, because if I'm not mistaken, he was promised 10 times that.
Right. Or
he should promise us like $1 million.
Expectation. But I mean, I would think like, okay, if you're giving me $50,000 to serve 10 years, that's $5,000.
No, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work.
I'm gonna fight you. My mama's gonna fight you. My mama has a bad knee. Her knee's really bad. She's gonna get together all her water aerobics girls. They're gonna give you a 1-star review or find some other way to ruin your corporate life. All I'm saying is like that is just wholeheartedly and patently unreasonable.
Right. I totally agree. Speaking of unreasonable, let's go. Let's keep it moving. Attorneys for Sean Diddy Combs argued that a search of his jail cell, which resulted in the seizure of handwritten notes, constitutes a violation of his constitutional rights. They contend that the materials were privileged communications related to his defense strategy. So are we understanding that these notes were defense strategy, or because some people are arguing that also in these notes were people that he had made outbound calls to try to stop them for talking? Attorney Simone, give us the tea.
Absolutely. So yeah, and bailiff, if you could, you can put the document that I just uploaded on the screen. If not, I'll just break it down for you. The gist of it is this: no, they were not attorney privileged, or even if they were privileged documents, what happened was there was just a raid of the entire prison. That happens. That's what happens when you go to prison. There was a raid of the entire prison, of everyone's cell. It was not specific to Diddy. When that was done, the investigator, the corrections officer that looked at the different things, so they search everything and they do look at your documents. The reason they do that is they want to make sure you're not intimidating witnesses. They want to make sure you're not in contact with certain victims where there's a no contact order. That's always part of bail, those kind of things. And what happened was the investigator actually took photos. There was a notebook that was things to do. There was a manila folder that said legal documents. And that folder that said legal documents, they took a picture but did not open and put it to the side. The one that said things to do, they took a picture of that notebook, and then there was some photographs. And what happens is the investigator then looked at those, they collected those, and there's something called a filter team. How that works is whenever you have discovery, you have within your law firm, or if you're the government, within the government, you have a department that is unrelated to the trial attorneys that are going to try your case. And all that does is to review these documents to make sure there's nothing privileged there. If there is anything that could be privileged, they create what's called a privilege log that says, here's some documents that we think could be privileged. And then here's everything else. They give all of that to the defense, and the defense can say, yep, everything on that list we agree is privileged. And then we found some other documents here that are too. The point is, Diddy's team is using this to say, Your Honor, this is why he needs bail. The state is saying, this is why he don't. Because they did find in there, they found he was using other people's PIN codes to make calls, which means they're not able to monitor who he's talking to.
Right.
Illegal three-way calls. That's one way to tamper with witnesses. And that he was trying to pay off witnesses. That's what they believe their evidence has found. And there's going to be a hearing on the 22nd to discuss all of it.
Attorney Turner, how bad do you think this will affect his basically his hearing that's going to occur this Friday? Is this detrimental enough to kind of sway the judge to not let him off on bail, or is it not strong enough?
Well, the prosecutors are using some pretty intense language. So what they're saying is that he offers nothing new and material in justifying a third bail hearing, and that he's continued to engage in a relentless course of obstructive conduct designed to subvert the integrity of the proceedings. So in layman's terms, it's saying that he's rehashing old stuff to try to get bail again, and he's a lowlife that is trying to manipulate process, right? So the prosecution is coming hard at this. I actually think that Diddy has dug himself a hole, because all of this fuels the narrative. Like, if he were a criminal mastermind and not desperate, right? Because he's been like Teflon, like I said, for a long time, but now he's desperate. He should have waited, right, until after this bail hearing to attempt to do what he's trying to do. His trial's not set until May, right? He got anxious. He might be worried about what's on these tapes and that people are getting to them. Like, I'm not sure. But the fact that he was doing all this himself from jail was just not advised by anybody. And I'm not even talking about his lawyers, because you don't tell your lawyers when you're doing some jacked up stuff, because they have to preserve their ethics. This wasn't endorsed by his homeboy, right, who's still selling rock on the street. This was just a bad idea. You do not engage in this kind of activity when what you want to do is to be out on bail.
I swear to goodness. Hey, why would you write it down, Simone? Why would you write it down? Things to do. Offer $20,000 for this witness. I don't understand. And you are in jail. You are in jail. They can do a mass sweep at any time. They can do just your jail cell. I don't understand.
Because he's in his mid-50s and he can't remember.
So he has to write stuff down. I don't get it, though. It's like, I don't get it. Like, are you really using your brain? I wouldn't write anything down that would remotely could be interpreted as something that I'm doing something wrong. I'm not getting it. Does he feel like he's above the law and they're not going to check him?
always been above the law. Today ain't nothing new. Now, speaking of above the law, one thing I wish Attorney Brian Ross was here because I would have liked to ask him, because I feel like this is uncharted territory. I'm curious if when Trump is inaugurated, could he demand bail for Diddy? You know, it's less than a pardon, but could he say, you got bail?
Nothing.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because the
Criminals
pardon
unite.
authority is outlined specifically in the Constitution. And so what Attorney Redwine is asking is whether there are other authorities that naturally flow from that. Like if you can get them out of jail forever and get the charges to go away, why couldn't you promote bail? That I'm not sure. That'd be a good law school question. Speaking of law school questions, the one thing that we've been talking around that I just wanted to say for the algoriters is that in Chambers, we researched and learned, or were reminded, that there's no legitimate expectation of privacy in a jail cell. And so for the algoriters who might not be in jail, but they're like kind of free, I've decided that we're not free anymore because of the new administration, but we're free-ish, right? For those of us who are free-ish, we need to be mindful of where we also don't have legitimate expectations of privacy. People be thinking they have legitimate expectations of privacy, like walking down the street smoking weed.
Right.
You don't. You don't have legitimate expectations of privacy, as Matthew McConaughey found out, being naked playing the bongos in your living room when there's a big window, right? Like there's certain places you don't have legitimate expectations of privacy. And so you need to be mindful of that, because the government can then seize what is not protected and your defenses are pretty minimal.
All right, everybody, that's tonight's show. Be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, be sure to hit that share button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications and drop down in the comments. This is a part of the show where we now go to you, the jury, to answer any outstanding questions that you may have. First up, Abby NYC, the MM family says, putting the military hat to work, or is that putting the military to work? Are they considered terrorists?
No.
Thinking, are they considered terrorists?
No. I see what you're saying. Because the military usually works to protect us from terrorists. No, they're not. He's just making stuff up.
All right, next question. This one to Love. Is anyone else here obsessed with Al's hair and wanting to apply pressure for him to let it out? So listen, the reason why these braids are in here is because you don't want to see this hair right now. I promise you don't want to see it. It's all over my head. All right, Miss P, I can't seem to understand why Biden doesn't pardon his son before Trump takes office. What is Biden trying to prove? He'd rather see his son locked up. That's crazy to me.
Good point, Miss P. At this point, we're about to be a lawless country. At least protect your child.
Yeah, at least protect your child, right?
What he will be subjected to under a prison system run by Trump. Get your baby up out there.
Yeah, he has made it very, very clear and has talked about it on numerous times that he never wants to use his power for bad, or for his kids to get any type of special treatment because that he is the president's son. And he feels like if his son has done something wrong and he's been convicted, then he should serve his time just like any other U.S. citizen. I'm like you guys, though. I would get my son out of there. Shaitan?
Here's the thing. In addition to it being his family, Attorney Redwine's point, which I think is a good one, is reality has changed. Now that we have a felon in the White House, all bets are off about who should be accountable for what. And so I think that gives him the justification to pardon Hunter in a way that he did not have before. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I like that. All right, Abby NYC, the MM family said, when they deport people, what do? Put them on a plane or drop them in their country? There are different ways. Who wants to talk about that?
Both. Buses usually.
Yeah, usually buses. But the funny part is, and people have to understand this part, the country that he's trying to deport you back to has to take you. So right now, Haitians can't take anybody, because they're not even allowing airplanes in their in their country because it got shot. Remember?
Right.
A couple of airplanes got shot. Okay, next up, 10. Oh, no, we replaced that. Christopher Johnson says, Kamala tried to be everything for everyone, and you can't do that. That Charlemagne ad did her in, and eggs. Which
Not
ad?
the price of eggs. Listen, whoever said the price of eggs is why they voted for Trump, you're stupid. Here's why. Trump created the inflation that forced eggs to go up. The inflation was created because inflation is tied to the price of gas. Gas was super low, and oil correction was super low during the pandemic. Countries like Saudi Arabia that produce lots of oil and Russia got together with Trump. They said nice things to him because he's a stupid person and all you have to do is tell him he's pretty and he's smart. And they said those things to him and he agreed to sign an agreement to reduce the production of oil. Lower production, lower supply, that sparked the inflation, which is why interest rates sparked up and you've got the gas prices you have now. I'm sorry, and you've got the egg prices that you do have.
That you got now. All right. 10 says, I'm watching the second to last season of House of Cards, and there are too many parallels to what has happened with Trump, including fake attacks. I can believe that. And last but not least, 10 says, does the president have any limits?
No, not anymore. Watch and see. Get
Well,
dressed
not
for the
on the-
slave auction. What color are you going to wear? Loincloth,
Right.
perhaps?
It's
So
pretty
I would
sad.
say in theory, the president does have limits because the powers are expressly outlined in the Constitution. However, even though the founders were slave owners, okay, they at least believed themselves to be gentlemen. And how that influences the Constitution is they presumed a certain gentility and honor that would accompany people who were in the office of president. Now that we have someone who's demonstrated that he's not a gentleman and he lacks honor, and who he emulates is Hitler, and he wants to push the power limits as far as he can. I do agree with Attorney Redwine. Like, we just have to strap up and wait to see what's going to happen because we have no idea what this ride is going to be like.
Yeah, this is going to be very
Epitome
interesting.
of white mediocrity.
Well, also to answer the question, there is supposed to be a check and balance for the president, which is supposed to be the judicial branch, right? However, the judicial branch, as we already have talked about, is influenced heavily Republican because Trump has replaced 4 in the last 8 years. So that outnumbers. So usually if you appoint someone, they usually will lean in on whatever it is that you're advocating for. All right, everybody, let's go back to our cases and give our verdict. First up, NBA Youngboy pleaded guilty to Utah prescription drug fraud case. So is he guilty or not guilty of trying to get his life back on track with this plea deal? Attorney Simone Redwine, what say you?
He didn't trying to get nothing on track, so I'm saying not guilty.
All right, Attorney Shatar Turner, guilty or not guilty?
He's guilty of some really bad fashion choices, and so it's hard for me to contemplate anything else. That whole picture just too much.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in the court, Celebrity Court of Public Opinion, and we're going to find NBA Youngboy guilty. Guilty is charged for this prescription drug fraud, and also guilty is charged for trying to get a plea deal, which we hope will work, but only time will tell. Next up, we have Lamelo Ball. Is he guilty or not guilty of really using anti-gay terms? Attorney Simone Redwine, what say you?
He's guilty of being stupid and immature, so guilty.
All right, Attorney Shatan Turner.
I agree with Attorney Redwine. Hopefully now for all time, we all know that that's an anti-gay phrase and we retire it.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here at Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. I'm going to find Lamelo Ball not guilty. That's right, not guilty. He is not guilty because I just feel like at that age, they throw around these terms. They don't really know the real meaning. To find him $100,000, I thought was excessive. Whatever I do find him guilty of is like Attorney Redwine said, and that is being childish. Tighten it up, son. But then again, he's making all that money. So what exactly is $100,000 to him? Next up, Donald Trump, is he guilty or not guilty of trying to scare all of our illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants of black and brown persuasion? Attorney
Guilty.
Redwine, what say you? Guilty,
Oh,
Attorney
guilty.
Turner?
All the time. He's always guilty.
Attorney Turner?
Guilty.
All right, I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in the celebrity court, and we're going to find Donald Trump guilty of definitely causing mass hysteria here with undocumented immigrants. Next up, we have Shyne. This is going to be interesting. Is Shyne guilty or not guilty of outing Diddy and the shooting that occurred in 1999? Attorney Shaitan Turner?
Is he guilty of outing Diddy? Yes, he's guilty of outing.
All right, Attorney Redwine?
Guilty of that.
All right. Yeah. All right. This is Al, and I'm the judge here in the celebrity court of public opinion. We're going to find Shyne guilty of bringing this story back to the forefront and putting Diddy out on the line. Last up, is the prison system guilty or not guilty of violating Diddy's constitutional rights by turning over his notes? Attorney Redwine?
Not guilty.
All right,
Not
Attorney Turner.
Yeah, not guilty. No legitimate expectations of privacy in prison. Don't take
All
notes.
right.
Keep it in your head.
Right. I'm Al, and I'm the judge here in celebrity court, and we're going to find the detention center not guilty of violating his constitutional rights, but we're going to find Diddy guilty of just not being smart. Just not being smart. You can't write down any of things to do, things that you know that are not legal as it relates to your incarceration, and not expect to get in trouble with it. All right, everybody, as we wrap up today's session, let's remember that the law is complex, and celebrity cases often cause them to bring their own unique challenges. Our discussion here tonight is to aim to shed light on these issues and empower you, our viewers, with knowledge. Thank you for your thoughtful questions and participation. Until next time, keep questioning, stay informed, and always remember, the Celebrity Court of Public Opinion is a powerful place where your voice can and will always be heard. Court is now adjourned.